Hello everyone, I'm back with part 2 of the Glacial Hammer Solo Self-Found Zero to Hero Fresh League Start series. Welcome, thanks for being here. This video covers my progress to level 95 and at the end of the video I will provide an overview of the build and a small showcase. Let's dive in. The last episode, link in the card and the description, ended at Maps. Here I am spending my first Atlas point, and here I die to Blight. I take on several mercs for their currency by permafreezing them. Helena in the hideout can identify items as long as you have scrolls. Here are some new gloves, especially the accuracy is sorely needed. You can tell how slow the character still is, however. I take more accuracy notes, permafreeze map bosses, craft myself a bleed immunity life flask and a diamond flask, and a granite flask plus a silver flask. Nothing fancy, just any useful mod I will take at this point. I don't have the currency yet to be picky. I die again, reach level 72, die again, and die again. It's probably clear my character lacks some defenses. If you weren't convinced, here is a merc that one-shots me. Here's proof that damage is not an issue whatsoever, and as long as I freeze a monster, I'm good. I get this new ring, craft a bit on some new armor, but I run out of currency. Get decent gloves from a merc, that is a big upgrade as I need dexterity badly, and the life roll is huge too. I put lightning res on that ring from before, craft accuracy on the gloves, equip that chest I was working on, and I'm good to go. Another merc, another treasure, this time boots. After my freezing presence, he surrenders and the boots are mine. I color them and equip them, decide to put cast when damage taken cold snap in there for frenzy charges, which actually works. I finished the piece with fire resistance. These are not bad at all. This is a sample of the build. It's not fast, but clearing packs works just fine on a 4-link and I reach level 74 and the map bosses stand no chance against my glacial might. I realize I forgot a passive point from a quest. Excellent. Clarissa in Act 8 still owes me for that little Ankh trick of her. I start setting up the betrayal board, I gamble a few staves, purchase a clarity for some mana regen, level that to around level 5, get Riker into research, level up Janus, I get this new body armor, benchcraft it and put some quality on there. It is still 4 links, but it's an upgrade nonetheless. A Val side area shows me the meaning of life. I unveil some pretty sick boost from Betrayal, Onslaught on Kill is great, I craft some lightning resist and decide to try out a new cast when damage taken setup which I link to Temporal Change, Cold Snap for frenzy charges again and Immortal Call. I reach level 79, unveil a promising staff, craft flat cold on there and that is an upgrade. I hire a homie, a kineticist, her haste aura is great, I die again, first just almost, and after that definitely. I complete a trial of Burning Rage, allowing me access to the final lab. Using my only offering, let's see if I can complete this. The last Izaro phase is definitely a little bit dicey, but I do persevere. I put quality once more on Glacial Hammer, which is now max quality, and I forgot to record that I take the ascendancy that makes the consecrated ground linger. That means a lot more sustain. Not enough though, as this mercenary proves. I thought the final lab would solve my tankiness, but it hasn't. I get my first invitation, complete that without issues as these can all be permafrozen. Here you see my actual ascendancy and here is a glimpse at my Atlas tree, very much focused on progression. Since I have Onslaught on Kill, I don't need silver flasks anymore, so I get a sulfur flask instead for damage. I gamble a few more body armors, improve my resistances a bit, in particular Chaos Res, manage to put Gravicious into transportation, I reach level 85, run Coral Ruins with a Divine Vessel which grants me freeze immunity, which is gonna come in handy pretty soon. I drop a decent unveiled amulet, get the double flat elemental damage mod and benchcraft lightning res. I found a 5-link armor as well, which I'm just going to slam with whatever currency I have. And this is decent, some defenses, strength, chaos res, I'll take it. I benchcraft more defenses, add quality and link Glacial Hammer to multi-strike, ancestral call, crit multi and illy damage with attack support. And that's probably a good time to mention that I don't use Path of Building a whole lot, but rather just take some support gems that make sense to me and feel good to play, instead of the most optimal stuff according to POB. I think if you find this, Camaria's Maul is an interesting choice if you opt to go for the Mace and Shield route, which I don't. I pimp out the homie a bit with a new ring, I anoint Weathered Hunter because I need accuracy badly. I decide to stop using Immortal Coal because it eats my endurance charges. Instead I return to cast when damage taken Molten Shell. I still die though, don't worry. I'm getting 15% life because my armor doesn't have any life mods. I drop a very promising staff with a Wield modifier and a huge fizz roll, but I unveil chaos damage. Still, after crafting attack speed a few times, this is a great staff. I then identify this Paladin's Hauberk from the ground, and it's time for some bosses. Starting with the Black Star, which isn't an issue whatsoever. I can't freeze her, but I have a lot of sustain. She does get chilled though, which is also the case for the Unending Hunger Boy. Perma Chill is almost as powerful as Perma Freeze. I also get a very interesting drop. I've never seen these gloves before. Then some new gloves from a Merc, Southbound, good work too if you think about it. I need attributes and resistances however, so I can't equip it. And I decide to incorporate Mark on Hit support, linked to Assassin's Mark. Someone posted a comment on that. I thought it was a good idea. I use Life Tap too, so I have enough mana left to attack. I again get new gloves. These have even higher accuracy, which I very much desire, and I'm finally hit capped after equipping them. I encounter Egan, get a new amethyst ring from a Merc. I 20% quality my heat shiver. I start investing in rage, which was also a recommendation from the comment section. I drop a tabula rasa, but I need my body armor. I get Forici into transportation. I recolor my staff a little bit and put in blood rage for frenzy charge generation. Here you see that in action. I have all the charges now, which is pretty good. I run Atoll for the Pantheon, decide to start the Egan questline, which I don't enjoy anymore at this point in the game, but I will say I like putting massive chills on bosses like Mini Cirrus. Even 10% less action speed feels great. I give the homie Painseeker and bring her along to the tutorial version of the Incarnation of Neglect, and oh boy, I thought my build was okay. I actually had to learn the mechanics of this guy to not waste all my portals, and I started feeling a little uncomfortable when I was down to my last portal. Normally in this fight, the question is how long it takes, not if I will survive or not. I challenge my inner Gloria, however, and ultimately come out on top after almost 6 minutes. It's pretty painful and an indication there is some work that needs to be done yet. The homie gets more presents, this time a wand with some flat damage. Here's a new amethyst ring on which I craft some flat elemental damage for myself. I get some more chaos res. I drop a lair cast for the homie, there you go.
I've made do with worse.
I know you have made do with worse. I also give her a Shaper's Seed for that extra sustain, and then it is time for a round of flask upgrades by using higher level flasks. I'm farming red maps at this point, and higher item level flasks roll better mods. Here is the Diamond Flask and the Quicksilver one, both one-time wonders, and the Sulfur one too. I automate them as best as I can, so I don't need to press those buttons anymore. Time for the Eater of Worlds, and again applying 20% chills feels very cozy. I'm also a bit tankier at this point, the damage isn't terrible at all. I think I'm still using Ancestral Strike even, so this is effectively a 4-link for single target, but that's all fine. I don't mind bosses taking a little bit of time and actually having to learn the mechanics. The Searing Exarch is a little bit more tricky with the balls, but I am mostly able to dodge them, and I'm not unhappy about the damage either, to be honest. After 2.5 minutes he dies. That's fine with me. I slot in the Voidstones and it is time to progress the character a bit further. I'm getting one-shot by a possessed Brutus. What else is new? It's time to start applying some Eldritch currency. I don't have a lot, but still, a bit of movement speed, a bit of attack speed on gloves, and some physical damage taken as cold and generic cold. I complete some unique maps, find myself a level 83 homie, I drop my first Exalted Orb and another from a Merc. I can finally start running safe houses as they are set up and get instantly rewarded. I took Ancient Orbs for crafting because that's fun, and Kadiro because that's fun, so that is Riker and Giannis. I decided to run the Katarina because why not? She is quite easy and damage isn't an issue at all, and she drops the shield. Unveiling the shield gives +1 to Spectre. I wasn't aware that was a possible outcome, that's actually pretty cool. I get Intimidate when I have Rage, I get more Exalted Orbs, get an interesting double corrupted unique from the Vaal Temple, get my first Divine Orb, die to the boss, and then kill the boss after dying once more. But I get no useful loot. I do another round of Eldritch currency and I get an additional strike on the gloves. That's a nice outcome. With that, I tried to swap out Ancestral Call for Fortify for more tankiness, and while it's okay, I much rather hit 4 enemies at once in maps with a bit less damage than only 2 at a time. So the Fortify goes back to Leap Slam. I found a new chest, decent rolls already, Benchcraft increases defenses further as do the Armorer scraps. I 6 socket and 5 link it, and this is the end result for now. It's not a bad chest piece. I get Dexterity on the tree, craft some new gloves, Slam Life and Energy Shield on there, color them, and that's a good upgrade with some Chaos Res. Here is my first 6 link, but I can't equip this at the moment. I decided to add Punishment to the build, although I will almost never end up using it. I also experimented a bit with gem swapping for map bosses, for example, so swapping Fortify for Ancestral Call just before you engage. And it is more damage and tankiness, but as I permafreeze these guys anyway, I didn't feel it was necessary in the end. Have I told you guys, by the way, I really like strong boxes and diff cards? Because I do. I really like strong boxes and diff cards. I reach level 93, get a jewel socket, put in a murderous eye jewel for a bunch of flat damage, run a safe house, and this one has Forici and Gravicius in it. Forici provides stacks of currency in 3 different chests, and Grav of course 2 stacks of diff cards, because I like diff cards. I put another strike implicit on my new gloves, and I get action speed on the boots, and speaking of implicits, I get a few of them to the max value using Blessed Orbs. I slam my staff now that I have some exalts, and I hit 25% crit multi, which is pretty lucky. I tried to 6 link my staff, but there I am not so lucky. I decided to get Enfeeble Curse in my cast when damage taken setup, use some reports to fish for unique maps I haven't yet completed, swap the Mark on Hit support gem for a 20% quality version, also get 20% quality on my Herald of Ice, I get a Perquil's Toe for the homie, get a rather fabulous Amethyst ring, I reach level 94, here I equip that new ring, great defenses when I'm using this, I craft life on it, slam some elemental damage with attack skills on there, and this is just an amazing outcome. I craft hybrid Chaos Res on the amulet now that I have so many resistances, and also on the boots, bringing my Chaos Res up to 70%. It's usually at this point in the game quite late that I load my character into Path of Building and start looking for some improvement. After I get my resistances in order, my defenses as good as I can, a bit of damage, that sort of thing. I remember something from yet another comment, or maybe it was the same, that's the minion damage and attack speed tag. I see how I can rearrange the tree a little bit to make that happen, follow that up with the respec in game, and as a result gain a bunch of attack speed, which makes the build play a lot smoother. I still have a socket open, so I decide to incorporate a banner. I opt for the Dread banner for some block chance. At 50 Valor you get around 20% attack block chance, which isn't bad at all. Here you see me place it in the safe house, 48 Valor, it's not bad. I make the final improvements to my flasks, adding quality on all of them. I get accuracy on gloves. I 6 socket a promising Hauberg and try to 6 link it as well, but I run out of currency. This could be my 6 link one day, but not today. I have yet another socket in which I put Vile Discipline, which you can activate to instantly regenerate your energy shield, for lack of better options at this point. I put 20% quality on Purity of Elements for 5% extra resistances, although I will soon swap this out. I reach level 95, which is typically the point I quit the run, because after that it gets real bloody grindy, and to close it out I die once more and spend my final passive point on minion nodes. And I will explain all of this in the next section, which is the build overview. Hey everyone, welcome back in game, and here is the section of the video that is not scripted unlike the rest of it. This is just me bit yapping over the build to hopefully give you a great overview of what this build is all about. Starting with the character overview. So the offense, I am hit capped, which is of course very important, and I am crit capped if I have all the charges up. However, right now it's only 76%. For example, if I take my flask, it's already 85%. And if I have 5 power charges, it goes up to 100%. Also, the multiplier is actually way more, it's close to 600 for the Glacial Hammer skill, but here it says only 379. In terms of defenses, I have about 6k armor. If I run my flask, it goes up to almost 10k, and if I do the other flask as well, it's 11.8, which is, you know, it's okay, I think. Res capped over here, although be it barely, 70% chaos res, as you could have seen before as well. I have minus 60 extra damage from critical strikes, which is not too bad. I'm freeze immune, I'm not immune to any other ailments. Charges, I have 4 endurance charges, 3 frenzy charges, and 5 power charges. And then I think we'll start with the passive tree and we'll end with the gear. So the passive tree, this is the ascendancy. I started out with this node. This gives you critical strike chance per point of strength intelligence, whichever is the lowest. And it also gives me 50 of each. So my lowest is 237 strength, meaning this is 237% increased critical strike chance, which is pretty good, of course. And here, whenever I crit, which is all the time, I ignore monster elemental resistances. I create Consecrated Crown using Sanctuary, and I take that Consecrated Crown with me by Pious Path. This also makes the Concentrated Crown apply to Energy Shield, so you get double regeneration in that sense, which is quite good because I have about 4000 life and 1500 Energy Shield. The rest of the passive tree, I will just give you some of the more notable notes. Here we have a bunch of accuracy, which you really sorely need on this build. Accuracy is super hard to get. Some life, some elemental res and elemental damage, and some crit chances. And then here is a piece of interesting tech. This is Spiritual Command, which says increases and reductions to minion attack speed also affect you. It's pretty difficult at this area of the tree to get attack speed, so I took this instead. This was a YouTube comment, which is great, very much appreciated. So these 3 points alone give me 16% attack speed, and also here I get a little bit more, another 6 and then another 16% attack speed. So by 6 nodes I have 32% attack speed, which is pretty good. And then I also took Spiritual Aid, which is the same thing but then for minion damage. So increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you, which is pretty good because I have quite a few minion damage nodes over here. Then let's move down to the tree over here. You get some pretty generically good things. Here is my Rage Wheel and also the Mastery, which says nearby enemies are intimidated and intimidated enemies take 10% increased attack damage, which is great. That is another multiplier on top of what you already have. Also the critical strike masteries whenever I can take them. Armor and evasion, some life. These are staff nodes, and the staff nodes are actually pretty good. Here you get increased crit and chance to gain endurance charge, which happens all the time. More crit, and here some defenses by blocking, for example. That's pretty good. Elemental damage, a bunch of charges, and one jewel only in this build for now. This gives me some crit multi, some life, some res, and some attributes. This is a great jewel, really, for a fresh SSF. Armor and evasion, the minion nodes I talked about, mana reservation, energy shield, and life over here. More nodes, this one is again crit, and also elemental damage. The penetration doesn't do anything, but still it's elemental damage. And here 28% accuracy with staves. This is very important actually. Here some more staves, again crit. I did take the 30% dexterity because it's for me a little bit hard to get. This is area of effect, which is quite nice because I'm using Herald of Ice and that scales with AoE. Here the little power charge node, a bit more life, a bit more mana, primarily because I want the Mastery, 12% increased mana reservation of skills, which is good. Another charge. If I would level up twice more, I would probably get this jewel socket as well and put something nice in there. And then here we finish it out with the cold nodes and the cold mastery. Enemies permanently take 5% increased damage for each second they've been frozen by you. And as you could have seen in the gameplay, and you will also see in the showcase afterwards, this happens all the time. So for bosses, especially for map bosses, they will take up 50% increased damage, extra damage by just being frozen, which is great. That covers the passive tree. Then let's go to my gear, starting with just, my regular gear, I think with the weapon. This is the weapon that you've seen in the video. It's a really good weapon, I think. The Heat Shiver, which is great because I gain 30% of cold damage as extra fire against frozen enemies, and I perma-freeze everything. And also I get that same amount from chill effect, and it's not unlikely that I have 20-30% chill effect, so this is effectively 60% extra damage as fire, which is not bad. My chest, I think, just pretty decent. You can definitely do much better than this, but the good thing is it doesn't have life on there, so I can get the life mastery, 15% extra life. And also I think the implicit is worth mentioning, not so much the maximum energy shield, but to gain a frenzy charge every 15 seconds. This is quite nice because I have the mastery over here, which has 100% charge duration. So this means that after 45 seconds I have permanently got frenzy charges up. So I don't need blood rage, I don't need anything else. I can just use my chainmail over here. Then the jewelry, this is my amulet. It's decent, I think. It's got everything that I want. Some res, accuracy, flat damage, some attributes, and also life. And the same is pretty much true for the rings. A lot of resistances that I need, and here also a lot of resistances and some life. The belt, this is new. This is what I recently made after I recorded the rest of it. It's still good though, I would say. It's got some armor, double res. It does have actually 6 affixes, I was just checking. It's not the best thing you'll ever see, but I think it's not too bad. And here is that Murder's Eye jewel that you saw earlier in the video. I now put it in the Stygian vise. The gloves, here you have additional accuracy, which I really need, and the targeting of an additional nearby enemy. And then for the rest, some dex, accuracy, a bunch of life, chaos res, and also just defenses. And the same is pretty much true. These are the boots that you've already seen before with the onslaught on kill. The flasks you've seen too. This is my eternal life flask, which gives me bleed immunity, and then I have diamond, I have quicksilver, granite, and sulfur. And then let's go to the skills. As you can see, I am only on a 5 link. I wasn't able to find a 6 or create a 6 link. I have one, basically waiting to be linked, but I just didn't get there, which sometimes happens in SSF. So we started with Glacial Hammer. I have linked this for now to multi-strike support, to elemental damage with attack support, for Ancestral Call, targeting 2 additional nearby enemies, and also you can target for further away. So with this combined with the implicit from the gloves, I hit 4 enemies at once. So this is great for clear. And then the final one is 148% critical strike multiplier. If I were to fight a pinnacle boss, what I would likely do is swap out the Fortify support that I have now linked to Leap Slam with Ancestral Call, so that you get 19% more melee damage, but also that you get permanent Fortify, taking 20% less damage because of it. Right now though, I have combined that with Leap Slam, so I have Leap Slam, Fortify support, faster attack, so you can hop around pretty quickly, and then a precision, a level 21 precision over here. In the weapon, I am using a cast when damage taken setup. I leveled it to 12. So this triggers once I have taken 1635 total damage, which is I think completely fine. Then I get Molten Shell for a bit of extra armor, some Enfeeble so that the enemies that hit me afterwards do less damage because they're cursed with Enfeeble, and I link the life tip support because I don't want to spend mana for this setup, I want to spend life. Here is the Dread banner that I talked about before, and also still I have the Punishment Curse, but it's not even on my skill bar anymore. I might as well remove it. I just don't really have anything else that I should have in here. Then the gloves, here are all the auras, so I decided to use Flesh and Stone, Clarity for a bit of mana regen, Hatred, which you haven't seen in the video, but I did put on recently, only yesterday evening, so it's only level 16, but it gets 37% of physical damage as extra cold. And my weapon is pure fist damage, so this is a good chunk of extra damage actually. And I was able to remove Purity of Elements because I crafted myself this Stygian Vise, which has a lot of resistances on it. And then of course I have the Herald of Ice for additional clear. I think that's just really quite nice. These explosions, the AoE, that sort of thing. And the final gem setup is an mark on hit support linked to Assassin's Mark, linked to life tap so I don't have to spend the life. And then also linked to life tap in that same 4 link is Frostblink, so that I can hop around and Frostblink a bit like this, right? You just hop around, and then in the hop of the Leap Slam, you can actually, in fact, Frostblink. If I would equip it, that is, there you go. Like this. It's not bad. I think it's pretty good. That's all the skills. Then I think the homie, so you have a bit of an idea what she's running. This is nothing special at all. I mean, she has most of her basic gear even still in here. A decent wand, the Leercast, the Shaper's Seed. This is quite nice, 4% life regeneration per second. And also the mana regen actually helps quite a bit. Some ring, another ring with a bunch of flat damage. The Pain Seeker, the Belt of the Deceiver, also intimidating nearby enemies, which isn't really necessary, I think, anymore, as I do the same thing if I have rage, but okay. And then whatever she came with. She provides the haste aura, which is great. Her 2 attacks are actually quite good. And then there's elemental weakness, which does nothing because I ignore elemental resistances. So let's do a map. I just prepared this little jungle valley. It's nothing special, but it is a tier 16 map. I think it gives a good overview. I am running 2 Strongbox Scarabs, a little bit of extra quality with the Sacrifice of Dusk, and then a tree that focuses on shrines, strongboxes, and John. And then you'll be able to see what I do. So I have a few buttons that I press. I press the E for Leap Slam over here, the R for Frostblink, and then on Q I have my Glacial Hammer. And some people wonder how I move. I have spacebar set to move only on the second bar. So I have my thumb on the spacebar, right, on my left hand, and then I just move around like this. So I don't actually click my mouse. Also to save my wrists, I just put down my thumb and this is how I move around. So sometimes I have, for example, this in the videos because I just never use this, and people get really upset because they see, you know, default attack over there. But in reality, I never use this. So the left mouse button doesn't get used except if I need to pick something up. Okay, that aside, we just go in. I got my 3 frenzy charges already. Whenever I use, oh yeah, this is GeForce Now, so you always have to loot the loot filter for some reason. Whenever you jump in, because that is sort of the idea, I do get fortify, right? So I kind of, the idea is to kind of just like jump in to the packs so that I'm fortified, and that's it. Now you can see these were all permafrozen already. You can also see, I think, that the damage is pretty good. I will maybe go over the POB a little bit as well. But the damage right now, it's about 4 million DPS, which I think is, you know, given the situation, it's I don't think bad at all. Here I typically just keep hopping so that I have my fortified charges. I don't really care too much about the enemies inside of here. I just want to get over here. I tend to place my banner, press right mouse button, and then it's all good. Go back into the map. Click on this thing again. Oh, I survived the detonate even. So you can also see, you know, it's fairly tanky to build as well at this point in the game. Especially, of course, now with that shrine, right? That gives me some extra energy shield, which is great, of course. Alright, and then let's do the boss. But here you see what typically happens, right? So they're permafrozen, and therefore not an issue at all. It's not the most damage you've ever seen on a map boss, because they literally just can't do anything. Yeah, it's fine, I think. I think the final thing we can look at is the POB. So this is the exact same POB. This is the imported character. Then if you look at the overview on the left, you can tell it's 3.4 million DPS and even 46,000 effective health pool. That's what we're aiming for. And then if you go to the skills and you look at the Glacial Hammer, I still have Ancestral Call in here, right? Like I just showed you in the map. If I disable this, the DPS doesn't change because this only makes me hit additional targets. So if you would, for example, put in Fortify with 20% quality, right, which I have. So I would swap out for Fortify, disable the Ancestral Call. So imagine I have a 6 link, right? And I would put in, let's say, Ruthless, because I have that leveled 2. You do not use Elemental Focus because you want to freeze with it. So you use Ruthless, or you use Hypothermia, or you use even faster attacks, which is gonna feel very nice. Like all of these are roughly the same thing. Inspiration, if you need more crit and want to spend less mana. Right, all of these are, I think, very viable options with sort of minimal differences. But Ruthless is very good. With Ruthless, this skill, single target, would go to 5.5 million DPS. Which I think is very respectable, right? For like a starter skill and a bit of scaling. And the build isn't even like, you know, all that min-maxed whatsoever. This is just what you would end up with. I think it is pretty decent. So yeah, guys. That is what I wanted to show you. This is also the end of the video. I could go further, right? But I don't think I will. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Love you all. Bye bye.